Hello everyone and welcome to the start of our F1 2003 career mode. Yes, we're back once again here in Albert Park, Australia. An all-new season provides all new opportunity, and for the first time inside this entire series, we're actually starting a second season with the same team. Yes, after missing out on the World Championship in 2002, we have stuck with Ferrari, ready for the 2003 campaign, and I'm hoping this year Michael Schumacher and myself are going to be able to bring home the World Championship. Of course, if you missed out on the pre-season testing video that went live yesterday, I would highly recommend going back and checking out. We'll have a quick look up and down the entire driver roster. There's quite a few big and interesting moves as we head into the new season. Kimi Raikkonen over at McLaren, Fernando Alonso and Juan Pablo Montoya down at Williams is certainly going to provide an interesting kind of spectacle ready for the new season. Ralf Schumacher, for some reason, is Daniel Ricciardo at the moment, or sorry, Ralf Schumacher's teammate Takuma Sato, for some reason, is showing up as Daniel Ricciardo temporarily. But yeah, obviously, a slightly altered calendar for this season. I've decided to bring the Hockenheim ring back for this one. I'm going to see kind of how broken it is, but hopefully it was less broken than Malaysia the first time we played this game. Just a little bit of housekeeping as well for those kind of eagle-eyed of you for this series. I've completely reset everything ready for this season, apart from the driver transfers. So basically, car performance has been reset. It has meant that the cars are probably going to be a little bit slower as we head into the new campaign, but I felt like Williams and Ferrari had too big of an advantage over the rest of the field. So yeah, I've tried to bring everybody back a little bit closer together as well. Get yourself subscribed if you're new around here. We are trying to hit 140,000 subs on the channel as well at the moment. And of course, if you want to get early access to all of these videos, please consider clicking the join button. It costs just £1 a month. But yeah, without further ado then, let's head out ready for our first race in the Ferrari F2003. Through free practice then, it looks like McLaren could be the team to beat as we head back to Albert Park, Australia. Obviously, this was the scene of one of just two races all of last year where we were unable to get a podium finish. So I'd love to try and get on the podium this weekend back here in Albert Park. But Kimi Raikkonen, of course, his first chance to show what he's capable of at a top team. The same for Alonso and Pablo Montoya. Of course, Coulthard, Schumacher and myself, we've fought at the front for many, many seasons now, and I'm sure all of us will be hoping to yet again throughout this campaign. Of course, all the cars a bit slower than they were in 2002. Some of the rule changes did hamper the pace slightly as we head into the new season. But there were quite a few other big changes as well in real Formula 1. Obviously, the point system was changed, so it's now allowing 8 drivers to score points. So for those of you that always leave comments with an alternate point system, don't forget that that's tweaked for 2003 as well. Unfortunately, you can't mod that in the game in any possible way there, but just a few more corners then to try and navigate here at Albert Park. And so far this lap has felt pretty good there, running just a little bit wide down in towards the final couple of corners. But are we about to claim our second ever pole position for Ferrari, our first pole position in Formula 1 that isn't at the Hungaroring at the final corner? What a way to start the new season. There we go then, P1 here at Albert Park, Australia. Kimi Raikkonen will stop it from being a Ferrari front row lockout there, just ahead of Michael Schumacher and David Coulthard. Williams will be scratching their head just to be down in P5 and P7. Looks like their battles could be with the Renault cars throughout this opening round of the year. Jarno Trulli just ahead of Zot Baumgartner there. Outqualifies Anthony Davidson. We certainly haven't seen that too many times inside this game. Both Toyotas then ahead of both Jaguars, ahead of both Jordans, ahead of both Minardis at the rear of the field. Yeah, I think Jaguar, Jordan and Minardi, they are in for a long, long year.
No more testing, no more practice. This is the real deal. And it's make or break here at Albert Park, home of the Australian Grand Prix since 1996. And home to round 1 of this year's Formula 1 World Championship. Just south of Melbourne's downtown business centre is the one and only Albert Park circuit. 3.3 miles of public roads, closed for the weekend of course, make for a bumpy circuit with little undulation. There are 16 corners around the lake and a couple of good passing opportunities here as well, thanks in part to the DRS zones into turns 1, 3 and 13. Here we are then, Formula One in 2020. The fight for the World Championship all starts here today. Mercedes on the hunt for a 7th consecutive title. They'll have Ferrari and Red Bull to contend with along the way. Williams struggled to find their feet last year. They'll be hoping for a stronger start this time around. And what I wonder of the Renault-powered cars. Will they be able to step forward? Maybe even onto the podium on a regular basis. Plenty to discuss then with Anthony Davidson. He's out of hibernation too, and alongside me in the commentary box once again.
It's good to be back, Crofty. Let's hope for some good racing today. We can't know at this point how competitive these teams are relative to each other, but hopefully nobody is able to run and hide. We want to see these drivers pushing to the limit all the way to the checkered flag.
Well, here we are then down on the grid. And like I said, I genuinely was not expecting to be in the fight for pole position here. I thought we might just struggle kickstarting the new season, but clearly we've got some pace and some confidence in this car then, and hopefully that'll carry through into race day Sunday as well. A one-stop strategy though looks to be the way to go here. I'm just going to leave a little bit of spare fuel in the car just in case it isn't as economical as the F2002 was. But with Kimi Räikkönen alongside us then, let's see what will happen in the first race of the all-new season. It's 5 red lights here in Australia. And it's going to be lights out. Oh, and away we go then. And clearly this thing needs a bit more revs than last year's car, as Michael Schumacher immediately trying to get a run around the outside of us there. Räikkönen, though, down the inside at turn 1. We might see some chaos a little bit further behind us. We'll immediately go back around the outside of our teammate. And I think we've already lost a Jaguar then. No idea what's happened, but again, we've got a lap 1 safety car here at Albert Park. We're riding on board then with Rubens Barrichello, of course, the only driver to retire in the season finale last year in Sao Paulo, and he will become our first retirement of the all-new season as well. And just... did he get pushed from behind? I'm trying to work out whether the Jordan just gave him a little bit of a push into that contact. I don't think he did, but I think Barrichello was very aware that there was going to be a crash anyway, so tried to escape one, and just was not looking at the cars in front of him. That will explain how Jacques Villeneuve got some rear wing damage as well. But yeah, Barrichello, a disappointing end to the opening race of the all-new season. Well, Kimi Räikkönen then is going to be leading the field back to green as we start lap 4 here, the first time. Of course, the Flying Finn has led the field off a race restart, but of course he's known as the Iceman. Will he be feeling any pressure inside the cockpit of that McLaren? I have no idea there, as he really tries to slow everybody down through the penultimate corner. We are hopefully going to be right there to pounce though, if we possibly can. And look at the drive we've got actually at the final corner to the inside of him already. So we make our way back in towards turn 1 there. We'll be pretty even on the brakes, and through and straight back into the lead we'll go then. So after, well, a bit disappointed actually to lose the lead off the start. Clearly this Ferrari though, much better launch control than what it had in 2002, and already Räikkönen seems to be under pressure from Michael Schumacher as well. I think he's got issues on that McLaren, because he is dropping away almost immediately at a rather dramatic rate here. We've already got a 1 second margin by the time we get out of Sector 1 there, so Michael Schumacher needs to try and find a way around him as quickly as he possibly can, because Räikkönen, he's going to be slowing everybody down, and we've got a huge chance to try and break away. If we could just give ourselves a couple of seconds of breathing room, that would be fantastic. Well, the team not reporting anything over the radio about issues on Kimi Räikkönen's car, but already we've built up a 2.5 second lead. I think it was either he's got some kind of small issue with it, because he seems to be very, very slow off the corners, or he just wasn't able to try and get temperature back in his rubber pretty quickly. I don't know whether it's just a bit of a glitch, or whether it's kind of a feature so we don't know what tyres other teams are using. But yeah, Räikkönen there, and everybody else that isn't Michael Schumacher is apparently just on the dry compound, which is kind of obvious. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Albert Park, but yeah, now that gap has kind of stabilised out at about 2.6, 2.7 seconds. So we just got to try and hold it and look after our tyres. Last year, tyre wear basically didn't exist in this mod. this season, it really does. Maybe the reason why Kimi's just trying to be a bit more careful here is actually that we've really got to be much more careful with the tyres in this race. I think we're already going to have to try and move over to a two-stop strategy here and try and take the mediums for a few laps and just see how far they can get. Schumacher there, I thought, had almost completed the move on Kimi Räikkönen, but it's going to be a very, very early first pit stop of the afternoon as into the pit lane will come then off of this set of the soft compounded tyres. Oh, that was so close to getting done for speeding there, but Räikkönen will go back through then into the lead of the GP. Coulthard and Alonso, as well as Juan Pablo Montoya, still not too far behind either. As we make our way then back out the pit lane, we're going to be out just outside of the top 10 then, behind both of those Toyota cars. Always helps when I remember to obviously deactivate the limiter as well. But yeah, back into turn 1 though, just ahead of the remaining Jaguar in this Grand Prix. I'm sure Mark Webber was hoping for a bit of a better home race than this. But yeah, now we've got some overtakes to make. Hasn't taken us long before we've rocked up to the back of Takuma Sato then. I mean, look at the speed we've got. Takuma Sato was always known for being quite a feisty driver, but I wasn't expecting him to go that defensive before we made it out onto the back straight. But, I mean, yeah, this is where a big difference in the power came from back in the early 2000s. You know, the engine figures were so different between your top teams and everybody else. Just able to drive by Takuma Sato. But of course, yeah, that just doesn't exist anymore in Formula 1. I would have thought everybody's power figures are within about kind of 15-20 bhp of each other. Back in 2003, probably closer to 100, maybe more. Looks like Jacques Villeneuve has been in the wars early on in this race, then already missing a chunk out of his rear wing. That'll be affecting the downforce on that Toyota car. Of course, Villeneuve already in this series, we've seen him try and bank on one of the Japanese constructors' huge, you know, deep pockets on those teams, but never quite worked for him over at BAR. And will Toyota be any different? As Michael Schumacher then dives into the pit lane, we will dive down the inside of Jacques Villeneuve there and up then into P13 of this race. But yeah, both Ferrari cars not able to go particularly deep then into this afternoon's running. Hopefully we haven't lost out too much time stuck behind some of these other runners, as there comes Michael Schumacher out of the pit lane. So neither Ferrari then in the top 10 right now. Next up then is going to be Giancarlo Fisichella in that other Toyota, and already impressive drives coming out from the Italian there ahead, and looks comfortably quicker than Jacques Villeneuve so far this weekend as well. Did just panic for a second about whether he was going to spot me on his inside, but luckily we will sneak by and up then into P11 of this race. I mean, when are we going to see some of these other drivers into the pit lane though? Because slightly alarming that maybe Ferrari's Bridgestone tyres, wasn't it? Yeah, really struggling in comparison to maybe some of the Michelins that most of the other runners are on in this afternoon's GP. I didn't actually see what tyres Michael was on when he made his way out of the pit lane, so that's a little bit disappointing as well, because that information could have been really useful. As look at the straight line speed Anthony Davidson's got. That BAR car certainly packing a punch in a straight line, but not going to stop me from moving back into the points. Sauber's pace as well, looking to be better here than we were expecting it to be. Both cars currently running inside the top 10 as Olivier Panis, of course, our fan favourite in Formula 1. And I mean, he's locked up, he's hit us, and he is our second retirement of the day, and I get a 5-second time penalty for it. I mean, let's ride on board then with Olivier Panis. Watch this, we're down the outside, he just locks the front. And I mean, he just drives into the side of us there. One of the BARs gets collected. I think that Toyota car, yeah, that must have obviously been Fisichella, will be able to avoid too much chaos as well in the process, but Panis locked up and hit me there, causing chaos behind. And we've got another two drivers out of the Grand Prix, and we have got a penalty. Well, I mean, this pit stop window is going to work out fantastically for most of our other drivers there. Zolt Baumgartner into the pits in his BAR car. We're going to have to stay out, though, and try and make this alternate strategy work, as we'll get back ahead of Kimi Räikkönen as well. So I believe it'll be David Coulthard then leading the Grand Prix in his McLaren, but I'd love to know how the FIA have deemed that to be my accident. But not even a half distance yet, and we've already had 2 safety cars in this GP. Anything can happen when Formula 1 comes back to Australia, and well, that was proven in 2025 as well. It was the first kind of race here that felt like a classic in quite a few years. But obviously, yeah, with Raikkonen now right up behind me again, and us still with a pit stop to make, things are going to be very, very difficult throughout the rest of the afternoon. We need to try and get past these 3 as quickly as we possibly can, and struggling just to put the power down out of the final corner is not going to do me any favours either. What will we see back in towards turn 1 then? Jarno Trulli closing in on Alexander Wurz there, but Coulthard already is going to try and just break free a little bit. The grip we have, though, on the exits of corners in this car, absolutely fantastic. As we will try and have a look around the outside of Jarno Trulli there, just about make it happen through turn 3 and in towards turn 4. Just trying to be a little bit careful on the exit that we don't take too much life out of those rear tyres as well then. But yeah, we are going to have a mountain to climb in the second half of this race. Still 16 cars in this one, so I think if we can score points, it's probably going to be a bit of a miracle. Well, luckily as well, we also now know that Michael Schumacher is on a set of the hard compound tyre, so he is trying to go through to the end of the afternoon, as Wurz and Coulthard then. Why you wouldn't just pit under the safety car if you were either of those two, I will never quite understand. But yeah, on slightly softer tyres than Raikkonen, we've just got to try and go for it over these next few laps. Planning on boxing probably at the end of lap 20. But yeah, we're going to have to put this thing in rich revs and really go for some qualifiers. Or when I said we had to go for qualifying laps, I really, really meant it here already. The gap to Kimi up to about 4.5 seconds, but he knows I'm not his threat right now in this GP. He's just trying to keep Michael Schumacher and Juan Pablo Montoya at bay. I mean, it's going to be those final few laps where hopefully our advantage is going to be even greater. I mean, we're going to be on 10 lap fresher, 2-stage softer compound tyres towards the end of the afternoon, but I'm still a bit worried about that 5-second penalty. We'll have to serve it in the pit lane, but could that do more harm than good? Well, I guess now then is going to be moment of truth time in this GP as we make our way through the final couple of corners. Tyres definitely starting to fall off. Raikkonen actually starting to bring that gap back in slightly as it floats just under 8 seconds. But in for our second pit stop of the day. I just hope we re-emerge somewhere near where we can fight for points towards the end of this one. But with that 5-second penalty as well, this is going to feel like an agonisingly long stop. Obviously the team wait. They're not particularly fantastic at then getting on with it. The 7.7 second pit stop, when you factor that in, isn't bad going. Raikkonen and Button are pitting behind me. What on earth is going on late on in the day then? That is very, very interesting. I was not expecting the AI to potentially be stopping this race as well, as Coulthard's going to come out just ahead of us then in this race. So his pace still looking very, very competitive in that McLaren car, but suddenly has everybody else realised they need to stop, and are we in a much better spot than I thought we were? Well, I am very, very confused by the strategies at play right now, because Raikkonen, all of a sudden, he's now basically losing no time against us through the first couple of corners. This Ferrari, definitely very, very good through the twisty bits. This is kind of where we emphasised a lot of our development throughout 2002, where kind of we held an advantage over Williams last year. But yeah, the likes of Zoll Baumgartner then running up in P4, I've got no idea whether he's going to have to box before the end of the afternoon. I mean, we're in a much better spot than I thought we'd be, but it's just very, very confusing. I'm potentially just starting to get a little bit stuck behind David Coulthard towards the end of the afternoon. Kimi Raikkonen's pace definitely is worse than Coulthard's here. There has got to be an issue on that McLaren car that they've just not sorted all day. The problem is, and this used to be a big problem back in the early 2000s here, very, very difficult to make overtakes around this venue unless the car in front made a bit of an error. You either had to have a huge tyre or power advantage, or yeah, just feeling very, very brave or wait for an error. Those were kind of your only options around this venue. Definitely feel like we can close in on the likes of Baumgartner up in front. But you just see, yeah, filling the mirrors of David Coulthard. But the dirty air really does affect these cars quite badly. See, sliding around on the exit trying to put the power down. But we now get a run on David there. Looks like that McLaren very, very good in straight line speed. And almost into the back of my former teammate. We'll have to gather in the car back up then. We are again trying to hassle David Coulthard to make our way down towards the end of Sector 1 there, Turn 3. Probably, again, one of your best opportunities to try and go for moves. But we are just throwing this car over the curbs, hoping that we can try and make the difference here. Again, pretty much pushing DC down into this middle sector. Of course, this corner much, much tighter than what modern fans are used to. But can we try and get the power down this time around? We are a little bit closer to DC. We'll try and have a look down the inside. And, oh, David Coulthard there absolutely will not be having that one. And we'll have to try and kind of wind it all up and go again. But what I definitely learnt this weekend is that McLaren and Ferrari's straight line speed is pretty much identical around this venue. The only one we haven't really seen is Williams. But their overall race pace here has not been as good as our own or the Silver Arrows. So, yeah, I mean, that definitely will be competitive on weekends this year. But Albert Park has not really suited them very well, although maybe... I mean, they might well have both drivers still running up on the podium places at the moment. I don't know. Obviously, apart from Michael Schumacher, who else is ahead of Zott Baumgartner at this stage of the day? And I might not even find out unless I can try and find a way around David Coulthard there. Really, really good traction as we make our way out onto the back straight. But again, just not quite close enough to do anything unless we can try and go slow in, fast out on the exit of the chicane again. We just cannot get close enough to him where I can go for overtakes. This is the problem at the moment. We're quick through all the really, really difficult bits around this venue. The gap is coming down to Baumgartner anyway, so the pace does look to be pretty good there. So just see through the final couple of corners, really throwing the back end of the car in, getting the traction control working overtime in round 1 of the new season. But again, trying to get the run back in towards turn 1 there, and I think Baumgartner... either that BAR is much slower than I realise, or he's now starting to have some issues as well, because that gap is coming down rather dramatically late on in the Grand Prix. Will we be close enough this time around again to have a look against DC? We will send it to the inside there. Finally, we will make it back through, and Alonso's definitely up in third, so I think Montoya is running second. Well, just 2 laps to go then, and I think a lot of questions were raised as to why Zott Baumgartner had kept his seat over at BAR ready for this season. Just did not stack up against Anthony Davidson last year. But immediately the Hungarian looks to be showing the haters up here in Albert Park. He's running P5 right now. Sorry, P4 even. But hopefully we are about to make it P5. These tyres are going to be absolutely fine to the end of the GP. Jeffers just trying to get the power down at turn 1 to the outside. We'll have a look against the Hungarian driver there. And again, the BAR very, very confident to try and get it slowed down in towards the corners. That thing again, put it on a track that it likes. I think it'll be very, very competitive around like your Monzas and your Spas over the course of this season there. But Michael Schumacher still leading the way at the front of the order. I think, yeah, had Baumgartner not been in the way, we might have been able to try and get a bit closer to Fernando Alonso here. Down the outside, out onto the back straight. That's not a usual overtaking place, but we'll make it happen. And up then into P4 late on, it is Montoya and Alonso on the podium. So Williams, despite not looking like they've got particularly great pace here, are still going to walk away with a mighty impressive result. To the last lap then here, and well, P1 and P4 for the team is not bad going. But I really do feel like I'm cursed around Albert Park over the last couple of seasons. Whatever we do, we just cannot score a podium in this Ferrari car. But Michael Schumacher, though, he only took 1 win last season back in Montreal. He only took 1 win back in 2001 at the Singapore Grand Prix. He is going to kickstart 2003, though, exactly the way he will want to go forward. And it definitely feels like Ferrari in this mod. Seasons they were great at in real life, they seem to struggle a lot more inside this game and vice versa. 2003, they did walk away with both championships, but it was a hard-fought battle throughout the entirety of the campaign. That cannot be said, though, for Michael Schumacher today. He has controlled the pace at the front of the order once the strategies are played out. I will be asking questions of the team, how Michael was able to make the one-stop happen, and how he just never really looked viable for ourselves there. But through the final corner, Michael Schumacher back on top to kickstart the new year. Ferrari, we are definitely well and truly back. Juan Pablo Montoya and Fernando Alonso, though, will both pick up their first Formula 1 podiums. What a debut for the Williams pair. We will come through in 4th.
Well, what a drive that was to take the win for Ferrari today. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
It was a question of right place, right time today. We were looking at an entirely different race before the safety car came out, but they were able to take full advantage after the field had been bunched up.
And here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today, and a stunning win for Ferrari.
Well, there we are then. Michael Schumacher, like we said, kickstarts the new year in style with victory here in Australia. Williams, though, like I said, they seem to lack race pace all weekend, but the car, well, they basically just were in the right place at the right time. A fantastic effort there. Juan Pablo Montoya comes through for P2, just ahead of Fernando Alonso. We come through for 4th there, again narrowly missing out on a podium, but we would have had fastest lap of the Grand Prix, so I think, yeah, the pace in this car, we are definitely ready to fight once again for the World Championship. Zolt Baumgartner, my driver of the day, they're finishing in P5, just ahead of David Coulthard and Kimi Räikkönen there. Wirtz and Button in 8th and 9th, they'll be a little bit disappointed. Strategy didn't quite work out for Jensen, with Jarno Trulli rounding out the top 10 for Sauber there. And Toyota just missing out on their first ever Formula 1 points as well. Takuma Sato last of your finishers with a 5-second penalty. Giancarlo Fisichella, Nick Heidfeld, Olivier Panis, Anthony Davidson and Rubens Barrichello all failing to see the checkered flag in round 1. Taking a look then at our World Championship standings, though, of course, drivers exactly the same as the race result. Constructors-wise, though, Ferrari lead the Constructors for the first time in I don't know how long inside this series. It might genuinely have been since 2000 was the last time they led. Williams still in 2nd there, ahead of McLaren, BAR, Renault and Sauber with points on the board. And yeah, your bottom 4 from last year, your bottom 4 currently still yet to get off of the starting blocks. Thank you all so much for watching, though. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon, ready for the, I believe, Bahrain Grand Prix.